Hi, welcome to learnhowtogarden.com. In today's episode I'll be talking about the jobs you can get on with and the things you can sow in August. If you're not already subscribed to me at Learn How to Garden, there's a link directly above this film. Hop over there, input your email address, and it means you get access to the newsletter which comes out once a month, which has interviews, more in-depth talks about things that are happening in gardening, and that's only available to the subscribers. I think August is a really great month. It's hot. I'm sitting here on the edge of the fruit garden that we created earlier in the year. The annual flowers are looking fantastic. These have just been picked out of the garden. I mean, it's amazing to think that 12, 14 weeks ago, these were just seeds in a packet. If you haven't followed the series we've done with Benjamin Ranyard at Higgledy Garden, it's been a great experience, great learning curve. They're really fantastic things to grow quickly. And although August is the time when we are cropping so much out of the garden, all our summer veggies coming, our tomatoes, cucumbers, the peppers are starting, the salads are in full flow, the beans are starting to come in. It's also a time that we've got to prep, we've got to think about the autumn and winter. And this collection here of seeds is what I'm going to sow in the next couple of days. The most important ones, I think, are these. These are the endives, the chicories, the things that will give me salad through the winter. We've had a blisteringly hot sort of 2 to 3 weeks in England, and most of my lettuce is starting to go to seed, even though it's been watered regularly, it's been soaked. Remember, with watering, always give things a thorough soaking. Don't drip water every day. That just creates very shallow leaves. That's one of the sort of things that you really need to get in. It's also a great time for rocket can go in now. Florence fennel can still go in, the big bulbing fennel can go in. Spring cabbage we can sow now. Radish, you can sow winter radish now. And one of the big things I'd say is prepare for the autumn. Get your orders in for the autumn sown onions and the garlic. Those two are going to need to go in October, November. And if you order now, you'll get the pick of the actual sets that you want and the pick of the varieties. I'll also be sowing a really last sort of sowing of carrots will go in this month. And remember that if you're sowing something like carrots, you want what's called an early variety. Early just means it has a shorter growing season. It doesn't mean it comes earlier in the season or you have to sow it earlier in the season. Early, when it's written on the seed packet, really just means it'll grow quicker. Some of the things we can be replenishing now. Beetroot can go in now, Swiss chard, perpetual spinach, which is leaf beet. There's an update on the website about our spinach. It's one of the things that really does need a lot of water. That is, if you've got limited water, make sure your spinach gets lots of water, and the more you pick it, the more you'll grow. Simi de Rapa is a really interesting one of the cabbage, one of the brassicas you can plant now, and that is a really good one. Again, you can get that from Seeds of Italy. When it comes to a lot of the brassicas, things like your Brussels sprouts, you're probably a tiny bit late. If you're very quick, you could plant some plants of purple sprouting broccoli. I planted mine a month ago, and in a while, at the end of this film, I'll show you that because of the heat, a couple of them have actually bolted and gone to seed, so they'll need replacing. I'll be planting some seedlings that I've grown of kale, cauliflower, and I talk about that more in our subscribers newsletter, because there's a couple of things I do that can help you overcome club root with your brassicas. When we crop garlic, and now most of your onions and garlic should have been dug up. Remember, don't pull them because you'll break the basal plate, and that means they will not last. A fork underneath, gently lift them, leave them on the surface to dry out. And where they've come out, you can either put your brassicas in, which would be great, or it's a fantastic time to get green manures in. We've talked about green manures. There are films on our website about green manures. The ones that I really like, winter tars are good if you're into no-dig beds. They do a lot of work in a no-dig bed, get very deep, pull a lot of nutrients to the soil. Tilney mustard is a really good biofumigant. That means it cleans the soil as it's growing. And Phacelia is my all-time favourite. It is a bee magnet. It puts lots of goodness into the soil. If you leave it to flower, you can use it as a cut flower. Ben actually has it in his flower garden as a cut flower, but it will attract more beneficial insects to your garden than anything. And one of the questions I'm asked most often at Learn How to Garden is my runner beans aren't setting. I'm not getting beans. It boils down normally to one of two things. One, they don't have enough water. They are really, really thirsty plants, which is why we construct our no-dig beds slightly differently for our beans to overcome that watering problem. And two, they need lots of pollinating insects. So with our beans, we always grow sweet peas in our beans to attract more insects, and we do things like we have green manures and bee attracting plants in the garden just to get those beneficial insects into the garden. Other things you need to be watching out for: late blight, potatoes or tomatoes. You need to keep up your spraying regime of milk every 14 days and intersperse that with Bordeaux mix, because blight will come. Although it's been very warm, blight is one of those things that will rear its ugly head. And a final thought on a couple of salads: land cress, great, it'll go through the winter. Lamb's lettuce, it's my son Benjamin's all-time fave. You actually pick the whole thing, sometimes called corn salad. Parsley, giant parsley, again, tough as old boots. Plant it in rows, don't put it in your herb garden, because you'll need so much of it. And you probably would even get a late sowing of basil in now, or chervil. When it comes to herbs, a great time for taking softwood cuttings. Rosemary, sage will go fantastically from softwood cuttings. Now, thyme will go really, really well from cuttings. And with your herbs, it's a good time to, when you've got so many, is to preserve them. And one of the best ways I find is to chop them up and freeze them in ice cubes, so that you can just take them out and add them to things in the winter. And I tend to sort of freeze most of mine. Again, basil, thyme, although they'll dry, I tend to sort of put them into ice and freeze them. But with parsley and chives, I chop them up and I freeze them in milk, because they're great to add to mashed potato or mashed okra, and they just give you that sort of, slightly herby mash, which is quite nice. If you're going to pot on some herbs to bring through the winter, I have found in my experience basil, although people say to grow it inside, it really doesn't deal with low light levels. It likes a lot of light, basil. But parsley seems okay as long as you can give it a big enough pot. Parsley will grow quite happily through the winter. And I think that's probably all the things you could plant and get ready at this time of the year. There are lots of brassicas you can buy as small seedling, as I say. The only other job that really needs looking at in the fruit garden is if you've got trained fruit trees, and by that I mean espaliers or fans, especially apples or pears. Now's the time to do the summer pruning on those, but we'll cover that in a separate film. So that's Mark saying, I hope you're enjoying our updates. Anything you want to ask me, please email me on the website and I will try and answer all your questions. And in this sort of newsletter this month, we're going to cover in more detail how to sow some of these things that I've just been talking about. So thanks a lot for watching, and bye for now.